The girl, the woman that left the show now, she got they put her on in Philly. She got the job in Philly. The one who left the show after
the one I've never heard of that left the show.
Bex. Her name's Bex.
Yeah.
After your cancel culture.
Remember, yeah, but remember now, everyone on the radio is now 2 generations past anyone I've ever heard of.
That's
so
true.
I don't know who any of these people are.
That's absolutely true.
I just sent Joe Killian a thank you note, and he said anytime, but then he said anytime you ever ask me again, fuck you.
Yeah, I'm never gonna come, so forget about it. That's right. That's what he said. He said I'd forgotten how badly you guys suck. That's what he said.
Right. He said maybe if Pete Davis calls, but you forget it.
Pete Davis. You got it?
Okay. Yeah, we got it. Hey.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Looking good.
All right.
As good as we can look.
That's about it. Yeah.
All right. Welcome to the Brad and Britt cast. It's our second Brad and Britt cast of this week. We thank you. And we are in this transition phase on the audio podcast, right? So folks who watch us on Facebook Live or on YouTube, they don't realize that because I got a few notes yesterday. Where the hell's your podcast?
Most people have transitioned pretty well. Most people transitioned pretty well, but we switched our server.
I checked it on Apple and it wasn't there. I mean,
okay, yeah, we do have a little bit different situation. If you want to email me or just want to give me a tweet at Brad and Britt, we can go ahead and figure out how to do it. Most folks have been able to catch up pretty well. It is available, maybe not where you saw it before on Apple or on Google Podcasts. It's going to be in a different place. But again, if you want to tweet me or if you want to email me, we got that situation all figured out, and it is out there and available for you to to check out pretty much everywhere, but it may be in a little different spot. That's what's going on.
Okay, you're tricking me. You're trying to trick me.
I am just moving things around, just trying to shake things up.
Yeah. All right, I have a new a new phrase, a new question that I want struck from the mouths of everyone who is covering news in any fashion, in any sort, about any subject, because the very basis of the fact you're asking the question already provides the answer. And that phrase is, have you ever before seen blank?
Have you ever before seen blank?
Right?
You don't like that?
Right. For instance, have you ever seen a 12-story condominium on a beach fall down like that before? Or did you ever think you would see that? These are crutches, right? These are pointless. We know when something happens for the first time. No, I haven't seen it before. Did you ever see 203-story towers fall down before after getting hit? No, I never thought that would happen.
Seen that.
Stop it. I'm begging you, please, all of you, just stop it. Just stop it.
That's funny.
That's all I got to say.
You're tired of hearing that one.
It is your witness, sir.
I did want to check in on Crazy Town just again now for just a moment, because we always like to, from time to time, try to figure out exactly what the hell Tucker Carlson is talking about. As you know, recently, I guess last week is when he picked a fight with a general, calling him a pig, among other things. Now he says that the NSA is actually...
Stupid pig. Get it right.
Pig.
Stupid pig.
Now he is claiming that the National Security Agency is spying on him. He has said that he's gotten a tip from a brave patriot within that organization saying that they're looking at his emails and looking at his phone conversations. Jen Psaki, the president's spokesperson, has said, no, that's not true. She has dismissed Tucker Carlson's claim on Air Force One as he continues to be the craziest guy in town, the craziest trust fund baby that you ever saw, and one of the leading contenders still for the Republican nomination for president in 2024.
I'm glad you said that. And by the way,
yes.
Did you ever think you'd hear anything like that before? See?
Did you ever think you'd... Yes, that's
okay.
the funny.
Here's my theory. For instance, the attack on the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Milley, who said what is actually, I think, a good thing last week in regards to the military, the most diverse part of our country, and has been since Harry Truman said diversify back in 47, 48. Right. There's a bigger cross section of Americans in the military, and has been, in terms of color and ethnicity. But and General Milley said, yeah, we want to understand what's going on. We want to understand what's going on, why there's this white rage and the rest. And Tucker Carlson decided that that was another jumping off point to attack General Milley, apparently as a commie, lib, AOC sympathizing, woke piece of shit.
That's the word.
He called him.
If you call somebody woke, that's like the worst thing you can call them right now.
Worst thing you could, right? And first of all, the military really has been out front in promoting and allowing for career advancement of minorities that the private sector was just catching up on. I mean, wouldn't it be a year or two before Jackie Robinson played his first inning of baseball in the major leagues that the military started to diversify in a way? But anyway, I'm off my point here, which is that the general was right. It doesn't matter what Tucker Carlson or the rest of them say, except that they're scoring political points and the rest. But I do believe that Tucker Carlson is testing the waters. He's pushing the envelope a little bit more every day, because every day we can come in here and say, oh, guess what he said last night, blah, blah, blah. And since his model is Trump, in terms of a guy who nobody thought could win, came out of nowhere, and nobody ever believed he had it. When Trump attacked John McCain in 2015, I think it was in July of 2015, and said he was no hero. I don't like people that got shot down. We all thought, okay, we normal people all thought, that's got to be the end. Who's going to vote for this? He's an ass. He's a complete piece of shit. John McCain's a hero. But it didn't hurt him. It actually helped him. And I think Tucker Carlson is doing these things to see just how many outrageous lines he can throw out there and still be supported by whatever passes for his core fan base, his core audience, which, as I think we can guess, is never going to be Trump-like. It's never going to be Trump size. Everything that comes after Trump is not going to be Trump, no matter what you say. It's not going to be, nobody is going to sing like Sinatra. There are no more Beatles. There's never going to be another one. Okay, Pearl Jam's better than the Beatles. I know you were thinking that. Shut up. No, they're not.
Only in terms of longevity. That's all.
Right. And I think that's what's going on here. I think that's what's going on. Plus, he's trying to separate himself from Hannity, because Hannity is attempting, I think, at some level to be, quote unquote, the voice of reason in this contest between the two of them.
How sad. How sad is that, right?
It is, because, Hannity doesn't want any part of it. Hannity's are off. He can say whatever he wants. I don't give a shit. Blah, 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 blah. That's my theory. I'm sticking to it, that he's trying to see at what point it's too much, that it's unacceptable, which would be, I guess, Glenn Beck territory from 10 or 12 years ago when they finally threw his ass off. But there's no one to throw him off anymore.
Right. Roger Ailes is dead.
Network. I mean, yeah. Speaking of, quote, the voice of reason, unquote, Roger Ailes is dead.
He's dead.
Fox News is dead. I wish
Rush Limbaugh is dead. I wish
Rush Limbaugh is dead. Yeah, I know. So there's my take on that little thing there.
Again, and you're right. I don't think we found the ceiling as far as what's too crazy, and somebody's going to have to talk to you. Get in my office at 10 o'clock. Could you please not say that Jill Biden has a penis? I mean, we haven't reached that ceiling yet, right? We haven't gotten to that point where he says like the crazy thing, and somebody actually has to have a meeting and tell him, could you please not say that? Could you please not say that Hillary Clinton is drinking the blood of babies? Could you maybe tone that down just a little bit?
No, that doesn't exist. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because, I don't watch Hannity, but I see the clips and I see what people are writing about him. And he's essentially infantilized Joe Biden. He calls him President Sippy Cup. He's a doddering,
it's got a real ring to it.
But you're laughing.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's what he wants. He wants
guess
Biden to, right. Because as you know, Donald Trump was a guy who you could take seriously. That's a guy.
There was a mature adult.
Right. Exactly.
There was a mature adult who knew how to handle life right there, as opposed to Joe Biden, who was just a child, of course. Yeah, that's what's
right.
going on.
Now, Britt, are you enjoying the meltdown of Trump as the charges are at the door for his company and his defense? Yeah, he just goes nuts now. He puts out statements, and it's like Twitter, but not quite. But he's hiding behind the fact that there are 3,500 total employees of the Trump organization, I guess, if you count the hotels, and they would be hurt. They would be hurt if the Trump organization were to go down the toilet, were to cease to exist, which is what is going to happen here if they are suddenly charged with crimes, and all of the lenders, the stupid ones who would lend him money after he'd already stiffed them, which that's a whole story unto itself, isn't it? Right?
It is.
Whenever you default on a credit card, isn't the first thing they do is send you an application for a new credit card? Usually not.
Yeah.
But Trump it was. But he's trying to hide behind he's trying to hide behind the fact that there are people who he's, I'm sure, treating very, very well. Best boss ever, right? It's not going to work. That's not how it works. When Enron went out of business, that was the end of it. I'm sorry, lots of people who weren't in on the criminal enterprise of Enron lost their jobs. That's the way it goes. It just, when they shut down that entire consulting firm called Arthur Anderson in the middle of that, they were the consultants for Enron. I was like 50,000 people gone, vanished. Yep. See ya. That's the way it works. And in a world where millions of hotel and restaurant and hospitality jobs went away in the last year, many of them you could trace back by whatever degree of separation you want to Donald Trump's mismanagement of the coronavirus. He caused a lot more people to lose their jobs in the hospitality, restaurant business, travel business than will ever lose their jobs if his company is taken down by the federal prosecutors for all the kinds of crimes that they very well might be. So that one's not going to fly. None of these are going to fly. He has no defense. We've said it 1,000 times. Let's say it the 1,001st time that the walls are closing in, because they are. And you can tell that by his response, by what he is saying. And maybe I missed the facts here on this, but was he intending actually to use Rudy Giuliani as his lead attorney in defending himself? Is that really true? Because he can't get anybody decent to defend him. Number one, because no one wants to defend him because he's indefensible and he's inexcusable. Number two, he doesn't pay anybody. But other than that, he'd be a dream client. Oh, and the fact he never listens to anybody and probably lies to every attorney that he's ever hired, that might be a little problem too. So apparently the guy he's got now is this 85-year-old guy, this lawyer in New York. And I'm not saying that you couldn't be the sharpest knife in the drawer at 85. It's certainly possible. I mean, there are people like Doc Severinsen who's still playing as good as he ever had. He's like 93.
Doc Severinsen, that's great.
But I would say that the doctor is very much the exception to the rule. So, but did you hear that Giuliani was going to be, and he can't practice law in the state of New York, which is where this case is happening. So that's off what a loss. Oh, Trump was this close to getting off the hook. They were this close, and then they lost Giuliani. How are they gonna defend themselves?
It's so unfair. See, that's how the deep state gets you. They try to they suspend the law license and go on their way to disbarring somebody that you wanted to have represent you who could totally win the case. That's how the deep state gets you.
Yeah, it's like tripping up Trae Young in Game 3, okay, and you get the ref to do it.
Right, the officials were in on it. See, you make fun of wrestling. You make fun of wrestling. Life is wrestling. That's what it is, and it's not fake. That's the real deal. I had heard the thing about Giuliani, but I guess, like you said, lawyers have this strange thing about wanting to get paid, and I don't know if Giuliani continues to ask him for money or not, or if he just loves being.
It's too late. We're way past that. I think, you know what? I think at this point, that's the last thing that Giuliani is worried about. Bills that Trump didn't pay him from when he lied a year ago, the things that got his law license suspended. I'm not sure.
But any other attorney is like, they're going to want money, and they're like, okay, well, I can't do that, so I guess I'll have to go with Jules. Jules is my guy, and now Jules can't practice law, so it's really unfortunate, right?
All right, could we rewind to the previous Brad and Britt cast? We had Joe Killian on, the great reporter in the state for a bunch of different publications, but was it North Carolina Policy
Watch.
Progress, Policy Watch. And we were talking in the broadest terms about the undermining of the University of North Carolina, the system, and certainly targeting in specifically UNC Chapel Hill in all kinds of different ways. including the denial of tenure to Nicole Hannah-Jones, and on another track, telling Eric Muller, one of the great law professors at the university who has been in charge of the North Carolina Press Association. It's a group of about 10 or 12 people who fashion the messages that the university puts out there. He's been there for a couple of terms, and now they're just refusing to vote one way or the other on his fate. They're trying to run him out, and they're going to run him out. And this is because the Republican legislature appoints people now to all these boards. They've changed the rules, and I thought that this is really insidious shit. They're really trying to wreck the University of North Carolina. Well, lo and behold, today there is and I don't think that many people will have noticed this piece, even though it was on the front of the New York Times, but it's moved off the front page right now, and it's moved back. And here's the headline: Campus in Hungary, the country, is flagship of Orban's bid to create a conservative elite. Now, the president of Hungary, Viktor Orban, is a 10 times smarter Donald Trump.
Oh, okay? God. Okay.
He's been in power there for over 10 years. He has manipulated elections. He has gerrymandered. He has reshaped the judiciary. He has clamped down on freedom of speech, clamped down on freedom of press. It's on the surface a democracy, but barely. And it's not. And his latest plan is to take about $1.5 billion of public money, real money, and that's a lot. Think of the size of the budget of the United States and what 1.5% of that would be. It'd be just ungodly amount. So this is about $1.5 billion, and he wants to create essentially the University of Nationalistic Bullshit, to train people and get universities off of this lefty track that he has decided is just as problematic in Hungary as conservatives in this United States think the problem that we have here. Here it is. Mr. Orban says he wants to overhaul education. Just plug in your favorite names here in the United States, here in North Carolina. A hero to Europe's far right, Mr. Orban says he wants to overhaul education and reshape his country's society to have a more nationalistic, conservative body politic. But his critics argue that the donation to create this so-called university is legalized theft, employed to tighten his grip on power by transferring public money to foundations run by political allies. Sounds like a blueprint, a model on a national level to what we're seeing in North Carolina. And a lot of other states, by the way. We're not the only state where this kind of crap is going on with higher education, state university systems, and the like. I just found it coincidental and not anything less than ironic that we were just talking about this yesterday, and we find that this is a movement. Mm-hmm. This is an idea that is it's kind of international in its own way. Right. And if you find the right person to do it, there's no stopping him. But again, Orban, and remember, in Europe, remember that country, Hungary, is part of the European Union.
Sure.
And I guess Orban is the guy that they all hate, but they tolerate. There's nothing they can do about it. It's an independent country, but the European Union is supposed to be kind of a thing, and it sort of is. But I think they make him sit at the kids' table at all the gatherings because nobody really wants to associate with him. But no one stands up to him. What are they going to do? You going to invade Hungary? Russia tried that about 50 years ago. Worked out okay for them, but that's a different era, different time.
Whole different situation.
Yeah, I just found it to be it's a disturbing story. Because you know what? It's just like here. We all throw our hand. What can we do to stop this? I don't know. They're just doing it, and they don't hide it. They said, we're going to do this. This is what our game plan is. We're going to start churning out right-wing, patriotic, nationalistic students instead of those people who question things.
Yeah.
Who ask questions. Wow.
Well, you know, conservatives have always been, I mean, they've been upset at college campuses going back my whole lifetime for sure. And you certainly remember the protests back in the 60s and the Vietnam War and all that stuff. And they've been trying to get their hands, they've been trying to get their hands on it. It's just, it's different and it's the same. It's different and it's the same because that's where this wokeism comes from. And that's where this critical race theory and all it's festering in these places of liberal arts and free thinking. We have to, and then they've already started, like you said, the Hillsdales and the Liberties and the different places where we can balance things out, and we can have our soldiers out there doing what we want to do, and we can talk about American greatness, and we can talk about the deep state and how you start out in life with 2 strikes against you if you're a white person. That's the kind of stuff that they want, right?
Yeah. All right. This is a story that's about a day and a half old. It's full culture war crap. It's the story of the woman Gwen Berry, who was trying out for the U.S. Olympic team, track and field star, and she made it. And when she got on the stand, when they're playing the national anthem, she turned the other way. All right. So this is the most important thing in the history of the world. And of course, somebody from Fox News, I think at Monday's press briefing, asked the press secretary, Jen Psaki, what does the president think of this? And the message coming from Joe Biden is, hey, this is America. That's her right. She can do it. Well, as you might guess, that's now the end of the world. So here we go. We have a guy who played in the NFL, played for the New England Patriots, Jake Bequette. He was also a U.S. Army Ranger, and he is outraged. He is offended. I was blessed to be able to play football in the NFL and at the University of Arkansas, and the national anthem fills me with pride, blah, blah, blah. And without going any further, we never can learn the lesson. And they always take these stories and run down the field with them, as you'd like to say.
Yes.
And I only would answer it this way. If I made the Olympic team, would I turn my back on the flag? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm proud to live in a country where if a citizen does do that through their own free will, an expression of protest, you know what happens to them? Nothing. Don't worry about it. Someone who makes their Chinese Olympic team or their Russian Olympic team will never turn their back on their flag. You know why? Because they'd be taken out and shot, because they don't have free speech in those countries, and we do. And if you can't tolerate this, if you still haven't figured out that Colin Kaepernick not only should have been free to do what he did, but should not have lost his entire career, and that you were wrong for going after him, then, we haven't made very much progress.
Right. Well, you said it correctly. You would not turn your back if you qualified for the Olympics to the national anthem, but your experience as a white man in his, in the years that he's lived versus an 18, 19 or 20-year-old black female might be a little different. There might be a little bit different experience as to what America and patriotism in the United States means. So you try to understand why this person feels compelled to do this. And that's what we're trying to do. But now, again, the answer to, well, I'd like to understand why this person doesn't feel the same way that I do about America as a white guy. The answer to that is shut the fuck up. America rules. You're an idiot and you're woke and blah. That seems to be the proper response now from some folks. If you even try to entertain or understand why that's going on.
Right. So here's the Peter Doocy question, as it was spoken to Jen Psaki. Ready? Does President Biden think that it is appropriate behavior for someone who hopes to represent Team USA? Not a very loaded question.
No, you have to give Ducey some credit because he does craft. He's got the art of crafting the obnoxious, insidious, provocative question. He's got that down to a science. I'll give the young man that, right?
Well, but she's just as good at smacking him back down every time he tries.
She is.
He's not. He's no Sam Donaldson. I knew right. Sam Donaldson. Sam Donaldson was a friend of ours, and Ducey will never be a Sam Donaldson. So here's her answer. Well, Peter, I have spoken to the president specifically about this, but I know he's incredibly proud to be an American and has great respect for the anthem and all that it represents, especially for our men and women serving in uniform all around the world. That's a great, wonderful, perfect dodge of the idiocy of the question. But the answer does contain something that leads me to say that Jen Psaki was saying, you know what? Everyone has the right to love our flag, not love our flag, show disrespect for our flag, respect our flag. And that's what the First Amendment is for. It's not for people who you agree with. It's for people you disagree with.
Right.
For their rights and their ability to speak to be protected. And I just wanted to make sure that as you're very good at pointing out, nothing is ever new. And I looked up John Carlos and Tommy Smith. They're both still alive.
Sure.
And these are the two guys, of course, who were on the track team at the U.S. Olympics, Mexico City, 1968. And they donned black gloves and raised their fists when the national anthem played.
That's a salute to Black Power, for those of you that don't know. It's a very provocative salute to Black Power.
They're still getting hate letters. They're still getting hate mail.
Of course.
Right? Wait a minute. We are 52 years out.
I know.
And the haters are still there. Still, they never go away.
Absolutely, they are. But
maybe they might get a few fewer hate letters and tweets over the next few weeks because they can be directed at this woman, Gwen Berry now. So
there
you go.
Charlie Connolly weighs in. We don't do a lot of these comments on here, but a person who turns their back and covers their face when the flag is shown most likely has never been at a funeral and had one handed to you. I mean, with all due respect, and I've been at those ceremonies, and they handed a flag to my grandfather's family because he served in World War II. That's fine, and I'm all for that. And yes, but there's not a hierarchy. You don't get a high horse cookie because I had that, and I would not disrespect the flag, because the conservatives have used patriotism as a cudgel against anybody who would speak up for, again, my entire lifetime and plus many, many years before that. If you do this to the flag, and then every now and again they'll try. Trump did this. He said, we're going to have an amendment against burning the flag. Remember this? We're going to pass an amendment against burning the flag. They do shit like this all the time, and they try to put themselves up on pedestals as being more patriotic, more American, and by God, I love this country way more than you do, and you wouldn't do that if blah, 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 blah. And it's bullshit, because they're not more patriotic than I am. They're not more patriotic than this young lady is. They don't hold the book. They don't hold the playbook or the architecture for what being an American is or being a patriot is. And I know the 4th of July is coming up and it's our birthday, and how dare you assault us? And fuck that. I'm so sorry. I'm so tired of all of that thinking. I'm so tired of them trying to one-up themselves because they go out to Old Navy and they buy their American flag t-shirt for the 4th of July every single year, which was made by some kid that was getting whipped to death in Sri Lanka. I'm tired of that shit. Patriotism to these people, it's bullshit for them to stand on their high horse and claim that they're more patriotic than I am. I'm so tired of it. And now you see it in these attacks on the military, which they supposedly worshipped and were so hallowed. You see Tucker Carlson going after generals who have actually been in wars. So fuck all of that. Okay. You don't hold a high horse for patriotism. Everybody is patriotic. I can't look into your heart and see if you bleed red, white, and blue or any of that horse shit. This woman has a legitimate point to what she's doing. I'm glad that she's representing my country so that she can get these issues out there. And if you can't deal with that, I'm sorry. We're not going to go back to when America was great and people like her knew their place, quote unquote. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry for those of you that are upset by this. I really am.
I think I've been at one funeral in my life where there was an American flag handed to the widow. That would be my uncle.
Yeah.
Who was a tail gunner in World War II. We never knew it. He never told his family. They didn't even know.
There you go.
That he had won medals for all these flights he had taken over Germany, where he's the guy in the back of the plane. Holy shit. Unbelievable. Anyway, so when he died, there was a live person playing the trumpet back when, remember the crisis about 15, 20 years ago where they'd run out of people to play the trumpet. They had to have recorded fake trumpets.
Yeah.
This is a real guy. And they handed my aunt then the flag over his coffin. I am fully able to separate that moment with the use of the flag for protest purposes. There's nothing more American than that.
Absolutely.
That's just what it's all about. I mean, if we go down this rabbit hole far enough, you get back to Sarah Palin. What was her line? They're doing it for the troops.
For the troops. Everything is for the troops.
Everything for the troops. Yeah. It's
I went
silly.
to
Again, that's not what I stand up at a baseball game.
Yes. But again, your experience as
it doesn't matter.
Your experience as a white guy in your 60s may be a little different. It's like there are some people out there that aren't necessarily super fond of law enforcement. Well, their experience may be a little different than mine as a 50-year-old white guy. My interactions with law enforcement over my 50 years may have been a little bit different than a 20-year-old black guy. So I can appreciate that and understand, well, you feel this way, I feel this way. I'm going to try to see your point of view. I'm going to try to see why you're upset about this. And I think that, again, there's nothing more American than that. You don't get to stand on some high horse. And the other thing that it really always pisses me off when it comes to the flag, because they're going to wave that thing around, is I see all of these people getting these Harley Davidson shirts and the old name, and the flag has been modified. It's got an eagle with a gun, in the middle of the flag, and you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to wear it around like that. That's bullshit.
I think we've flattened this one about as far as we go, but it'll come back. It's not going. Of course, it's not going to go away, right? They'll probably show the video for doing.
Oh, and
here's the crisis.
I don't get to have my yearly rant about shoving hot dogs and then vomiting them up. May not be the best representation of America at some hot dog eating contest.
I've heard it enough.
I love that rant.
Here's the crisis. Fireworks to be in short supply this year. Prepare to pay more. In other words, get out and hoard them right now. Pretend they're toilet paper last year.
This is the opposite of what happened in 2020. What happened in 2020 is, as the pandemic started lockdown, the fireworks dealers started panicking, and they were doing these buy one, get 5 free deals, particularly around here in those little places in South Carolina. That's why fireworks existed not only in May, June, July, and August, but also September, October, November, and December. And they were being set off all over your town, all over America, because of these buy one, get 5 free deals, because they panicked. Now we do have an actual shortage in the United States.
Well, I'm always thinking about overlapping constituencies, and I've never been a fireworks guy myself, as you might guess, because as you know, I'm just a pussy, and I already have one finger that's shorter than the other.
Again, if you were a real American, you'd get out there and blow like 2 more of those fingers off, asshole.
Right, but
get out there and be an American.
It didn't get blown off. Okay,
no, it got squeezed,
smashed off.
Yeah,
that's different. But I just wonder how many people who might be in a panic over fireworks maybe even think that there's some kind of conspiracy against fireworks because, well, Joe Biden and liberals and blah blah. I wonder what the overlap is between people who are just demanding and want a greater supply of fireworks versus how many people are anti-vax. In other words, are you more likely to want to blow off fireworks personally if you're not a vaccinated person? See, because I would think that at this point, it's now almost an intelligence test. It's getting close to a full IQ test on being vaccinated. Okay. And I think the lower down you go on the IQ scale, the more likely you are to be dumb enough to want to blow off fireworks and risk your life and the life of everyone around you. So I think there's a wonderful inverse proportionality there. The more likely you are to want to blow off fireworks, the less likely you are to have been vaccinated or might be an anti-vax person yourself. What do you think? That is, I know that is the thinnest, philosophy ever. I think that's
a good Venn diagram. I could see a lot of overlap in that whole situation. I'll just say this for their people who call into your local 911 center when they hear an explosion. You would be surprised how many people become munitions experts. And they absolutely know the difference between fireworks and gunfire. They absolutely know that those are not fireworks. Those are no, that's a gun. That's a semi-auto. That's an AR-15, and y'all need to send somebody out here immediately. Even though it's been fireworks and it's the 4th of July and it's 10 o'clock on the night of the 4th of July, that's got to be gunfire. What's this one? Bill Barr and Donald Trump are not seeing eye to eye. There's a lot of these excerpts coming up. I don't know if is it Michael Bender's book or Michael or Wolf's book that's coming out where they go into detail.
They're all coming out at once. This is Britt. This is like a comeback in the fourth quarter when you thought the game was over, right? We just thought the game with Trump was essentially over, and before you know it, holy shit! 3 touchdowns and he's back in the game.
Endless overtime.
Stupidity, the game of idiocy. But this is the bottom line. Everything that you thought about Trump, not only was it true, what you thought was only half as bad as it's turned out to be. That he is worse. And everything that you thought about Bill Barr was true. Mm-hmm. He really was a full-blown 100% lawyer for Donald Trump, running interference for him, politicizing the Justice Department. He would take Donald Trump's phone calls constantly, do what he wanted him to do, until finally, after the election was over, and even Bill Barr, who could see the evidence, of which there was none, that the election had been rigged, stolen, tampered with, fucked up, anything. Barr suddenly figured out, oh my God, I'm going to be in the history books right next to Roy Cohn. I'm going to be right there with John Mitchell, the worst attorney general in American history up until now.
Yeah.
And so now I'm going to tell you how I went out of my way to make sure that my fingerprints wouldn't be directly on the events of January 6th. And then you get Mitch McConnell, this total puss, who knew that if Trump wanted to fuck up what was going to happen in Georgia with the 2 Senate races, that Trump could do it. And Trump was doing it. He was telling people that the vote...
Well, that's what
my election was rigged. Why do you think that the Senate elections are? So people didn't show up, and so McConnell is shitting Kentucky bourbon.
Right, he's going, and he's saying that you got to say something, Barr. I can't say anything. You can say something. Please say something.
Wait,
say this.
Hold the phone. This is even worse than what we thought, because it isn't just Trump who had politicized the Justice Department through his lackey Bill Barr, but you have the Senate Majority Leader who thinks he can pick up the phone and call the Attorney General and get him to do what he wants, to get Trump off the dime and get him campaigning and get him to understand that his election... I don't want to say this needs to be investigated because, you know, you'll just come through the screen and choke me for saying that. But obviously it does. And we don't have enough time or enough people or enough lawyers to investigate all of the nefarious, illegal, immoral, anti-norm activities of these people who cared nothing about this country. Yeah, the real problem with caring about this country is not the behavior of these people. It's some girl whose name you never heard until 4 days ago, turning when the national anthem was played at the Olympic trials.
Absolutely.
That's the problem. And that's what Fox wants you to concentrate on, right?
That's exactly right.
If you think, Britt, if you think that these stories that are coming out of Michael Wolff's book and Michael Bender's book and Jonathan Karl's book from ABC, those are the big three, right? If you think for 1 second that any of these books and all of the material here, which lead the newspapers, the major newspapers, and the cable outlets other than Fox are ever going to be discussed or acknowledged on Fox, you would be wrong. They will know nothing of this. They will hear nothing of this. And that's the bifurcated media universe that we live in. You can live your whole life and not hear about anything. Now, I guess their response would be, well, how come you want to talk about Hunter Biden's laptop? You know why? Because it doesn't fucking make a bit of difference. It doesn't matter.
It's nothing.
It just doesn't matter what the fuck was on Hunter Biden's laptop. It has nothing to do with anything. So,
it's interesting. Of the two books, when my Audible credit rolls around 1st of July, I think I'm going to go for the Bender book because I did the Wolff book. Eventually, I'll get to, and I'll just see some of the excerpts and stuff on there. But I think the Bender book is the one I'm going to want to listen to. And the Muy Grande Enchilada that everybody's waiting on is the Maggie Haberman book, which is supposed to come out next year. That's going to be the one that a lot of folks are really pointing to. It seems, because she's pretty good.
I'll tell you the book that I'm waiting for that's going to just kill Trump. John Bolton is right.
Stop.
It came out.
I'm waiting for another Donald Trump Jr. book. I'm hoping he comes out with another good one. Blech.
All right. Have we left anything else?
No scraps
around that we need to kick around before we
no scraps left on the floor. If anybody is catching this and they do normally hear us on podcast form and they've been unable, I think it's going to update on those platforms. I think it's going to update pretty soon on Apple Podcasts. But if you want to send me a note, I'll tell you how to be able to get the daily podcast.
But
if you wish
they can't hear you saying that because they can't get it. So there's no point in saying it.
I hope that maybe somebody will stumble across it and maybe tell them.
Right.
Goodbye.
We'll head off.